Alright guys, it's been about a week and a half, and I got parts here. First part is replacement crank. Had to buy a used one. Nobody carries this stuff brand new, and unfortunately I have no choice but to use a used one. So as I'm looking at this, it's still got the key in it, which is good. Gonna have to do a little bit of polishing on here and here, a little bit on here, and then some cleanup. But the bearings are good. That's what matters. The crank itself has less side to side than the other one, and nothing up and down. So we got a good crank. Now I bought this kit, this top end kit for this bike. It was like 60 bucks. It came with thread locker. It came with RTV. It came with an air cleaner, which we will not use. It also came with a filter, which we will not use. We'll hang on to it for, I don't know, go-kart project, something, who knows. It came with new engine studs. It came with a NGK spark plug, which is a decent spark plug, so surprised that that came with that. It came with both gaskets, the base and the head. It came with a brand new head. And it came with a cylinder. And the piston is inside the cylinder, but let's take a look here. I haven't opened any of this up. I don't see rings, so let's find out where the rings are. I'm assuming the rings are going to be inside of this cardboard right here. And there are the rings. Let's go look at the cylinder. And the bubble wrap it for shipping. And the piston is in there. Brand new wrist pin. I don't see the wrist pin bar in there, which is a little surprising. There's the circlips. Let's see if I get the piston out of there. There's the piston. Pretty good. And the cylinder. And there's the cylinder. And that also looks good. So we have everything we need to rebuild this engine. Now I think what I want to do is just open this guy up. Let's I think I want to do is actually do some comparison between the new stuff and the old stuff. Let's compare the cranks. This is the used crank. The used crank was like 60 bucks, and I got it from, there's no sponsorship here, but I got it from, here's a card that says thank you for your purchase. Leave a review. Anyway, doesn't say here. Now, the one thing I did notice is this crank, this is the one I took out. It's a little bit burnt right here, and it's sort of burnt up on here, which you can see the difference in color. This one doesn't have, has a, not a lot of side-by-side. This one has a bit more, but there isn't any up and down, and that's what matters. As you can see on this one, bearings are missing, or the balls are missing inside the bearing. So this one's no good. And honestly, I couldn't find the bearing anywhere. I would have had to cross-reference it. I could have, and then I would have had to take it somewhere and have them press this off, and then press the new one on. And by the time it's all said and done, I still have a crank that was overheated. So I'd rather just not use it. And for 60 bucks, I'll just go with this one. The bearings are good. They just need to be, I just need to hit it with some brake clean, and should be good to go. Next up are the cylinders, and they look to be exactly the same. So they look like they're the same, so we should be good to go there. The only difference is this one here actually has a 98 centimeter. This one does not. So that's the only difference. Next up are the heads. And let's take a look at the heads. And they look a little bit different, don't they? They're not exactly the same, but they're close. This one seems to be a little bit bigger, which is fine because it'll just cool better. The only thing is, I wonder if that plastic cover is going to fit over this. If not, I may use the old head. The combustion chamber is different on this one. It is bigger. This one's smaller. This one will reduce compression. Well, guess all we can do is try it. So maybe we'll try this one, or maybe I'll just stick with the factory one. We'll see once we get it assembled. I just want to make sure that the cover that goes over the engine fits, and it may not, because it was pretty tight when I took it off, so it may not fit with this being bigger over here. So more to come on that. And now the piston. And the piston is of poor quality, but you have to expect that from China. But for the most part, they look the same. What I don't like are the sharp edges around this piston. Don't like that at all. This one's pretty well beveled. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Dremel and I'm going to Dremel this out to break those sharp edges. But other than that, the piston looks pretty much the same. Alright, let's get to cleaning. Let me make sure everything's clean. I don't know what has happened with any of this, so. Alright. Blow some compressed air through this and I'll come back. Alright, I hit it with the brake clean and clean everything up. Bearings are free and nice. I gave this a little bit of a sanding on here, if you guys can see, with some let's see, some 400 grit, just to smooth up that seal surface. And I may do this side as well. I think this side looks okay. Let me just hit that real quick. Same thing. Alright, looks much better now. So you can see, a lot of times you can see the seals, where the seal was running on there. Sometimes it melts a little if it gets hot. So basically all I did was just take it off. That's all. Didn't change the diameter or anything, and you can still see a little bit of it on here. But it's nice and smooth. There's nothing there. I can't feel nothing. So it should seal perfectly fine. And the crank is now ready to assemble. What we're going to do now is I'm going to heat the case and I'm going to drop the crank down into the case. I'm not putting any seals in this because I don't want the seals to get hot and melt. So we can actually put the seals in after. No big deal. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to heat this up. It shouldn't take much, and then I'm going to drop the crank right down inside. Alright, I want to make sure of two things. One, that I get the crank going through here, and two, that I have it in the right way. So this is the drive for the belt, and the crank is coming the right way. So let's just drop it right in there. That's it. and I'll just let it cool down and we'll be good to go. Alright, while this is still cooling, let me show you real quick. Crank spin's nice, we're in good shape. What I want to do now is I want to put the alignment pins in, and I wire wheeled these to get any corrosion off and any TV that was still on there. Make sure you guys do that, it's very important. Just put them in. That's good for now. We're going to come back to this once it's completely cooled off because we need to RTV it. One thing I just want to mention, I don't know if I did, but how clean I got the inside of this before I put the crank in. I mean, I completely scoured it, scrubbed it with WD-40 and brake clean, and it is completely clean. There is no debris, there's no chips, there's no nothing in there. And what this allows, not allows, but it guarantees me that nothing is going to get inside here and damage this engine. Same thing on this. As you guys can see, it is super clean. This is the area I've cleaned up the mating surfaces here with my, where's it go? With my stone. You guys have seen me do it many times. If you're a member of the channel, a subscriber to the channel I should say, you've seen me do it many times. If not, there's plenty of videos out there of me rebuilding engines and showing how I clean the split lines up. So feel free to go back and reference those. So for now, this needs to cool. We'll come back. Well, alright, so I took the thread locker out. I think this stuff will be alright. I'm not 100% sure, but when I look at the RTV that they gave us, it says here that it resists oil, water, antifreeze, and safe for all models. What it doesn't say is fuel resistant. And as everyone knows, 2 strokes mix the oil with the fuel, and they swirl around in the crankcase, and that's how they lubricate everything. So this is the wrong RTV for a 2-stroke engine, but good thing I read that, so I'm not using this. I'm going to use what I already have. Make sure you guys double check when you're doing 2 strokes that when you put your cases back together, you use fuel resistant RTV. Alright, it's cool enough now that we're gonna start putting some RTV on here. Just a thin coat. You don't need a lot because these case halves really do touch each other, basically. This is just to take up imperfections so that we don't have an air leak. And you do it on regular 4-stroke cases as well, so you don't have an oil leak. Because there's nothing worse than having an oil leak. And I've seen people put this stuff on way too heavy and it gets all inside the engine. 2 strokes doesn't matter as much. 4 strokes absolutely matters because it can plug oil passages, plug oil passages, and cause you massive problems with seizing your engine. So this is something that you want to definitely not go overboard with. That should do. Now let's try to drop this on. There we go. She dropped right on. Now I'm going to throw some screws in here. Alright, they are snugged up, and I think what we're going to do right now, as you can see, 6 bolts, we're just going to let it sit before I torque it, and I'm going to let it sit for probably 10 minutes, then I'm going to come in here and torque those by hand, and we should be good to go. Let's check the crank. The crank moves very nicely. There is no play in it at all, and there was play in the other one, so I think we are good to go. Alright, here's the seal. Let's open it up. If anyone's wondering, this is the company that I got the seal from. There's their email address or website address. And I think this came from either Canada or Europe, one or the other. Here's the old seal, as you can see. Pretty worn out because this inside looks a lot bigger than it should. So we're going to put that in now. There we go. And there should be a little bit of lube on there. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap that to seat it. I'm going to tap it with a punch. I'm going to try to do it while you guys on camera can see, because you're kind of in the way. So I'm just going to gently tap it, try to get it to go down. And this seal has metal in it. So you get the idea. I'm going to do the rest off camera because I need to get where you are. Okay, that seal is completely seated now, and we're good to go. Now I'm going to flip it and do the other seal. Same deal. We're going to make sure that we get plenty of two-stroke oil down inside. So I'm just going to pour it on there and spin this around to make sure it gets all in there nice. Okay, it looks pretty lubed. Now for the other seal, which is right here, that's the size of the seal. Now I had to order it by size and not by make and model because they don't make the seal anymore. And I think this seal came from an Autocat snowmobile, two-stroke, which is basically the same size seal. So this seal goes down in here now. And it's going to be kind of the same deal. I have to tap all the way around and seat it. Alright, here's the snap ring. Let's see if I can get it back on there. There we go. Snap ring's back in. Just want to show you guys real quick. I'm going to pick this up. You guys can see it. See the split line. See how very little RTV came out around the split line, even down inside of here and all around. You can see it right there too. This is blurry, I don't know. But anyway, that is why you only use a small amount, because you don't want globs and globs of it down inside your engine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the engine studs back in, and we're going to use the originals right here. Two of them already have the doubled up nuts on them, so we're going to start with those. And we are going to use Loctite, and we're going to use this stuff that came with our kit. Okay folks, those are back in. Let's move that out of the way. We're going to get to ring end gap. Now, 8 thou minimum, according to the intranet, or the internet, or the interweb, whatever you want to call it. Minimum of 8 thousandths. That's in there now. I lined it with the piston. Let's check it. This is 8 thou. It's tight. This one needs to get, that one needs to get reworked. Let's try this one now. That one's tight. Alright guys, I can't find my small stone, but I do have a set of these. These are called diamond files. They are made for smoothing the edges on hardened steel. A regular file won't work. So I'm just going to touch the edge real quick. Both sides. Alright, now that that's done, I have both rings set. So the piston's done. The rings are done, they're ready to go in. I mean, not the piston, but the cylinder and the rings are done. Now for the piston. If you remember, the other piston was chamfered all the way around this port. I think I want to do a similar thing. I do have a nice air Dremel. I'm not going to use that because you'll have to hear the compressor running while I'm doing it. I also have an electric Dremel, and I could use that. But the fact that I'm only going to break this edge, I'm just going to use a file, and I'll show you how I do that. Alright, so here's the piston, and here's my file. And this is basically a round file. Old schoolers like me refer to it as a rat tail file, and it's pretty obvious why they call it a rat tail, because it looks like a rat's tail. It's a fine file. The end is bent, so that if you're on a lathe or something and it catches the chuck and jumps back on you, it doesn't go into your wrist and up your arm and cause major problems. It'll just shoot off. So anyways, I digress. So basically all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the piston here and I'm just going to go around the edge and break the edge. That's it. Now, like I said, I'm not building a race bike here, but it will add it'll help airflow getting into the crankcase, and in case one of these edges decides they want to fall off, it's not going to fall off down into the engine, cause problems. And I'm using a round file because we have radiuses here. So if you can see now, you can already see that I broke the edge. That's a sharp edge. That's a broken edge. And I am already happy with that. If you look inside, down in here, you can see the burr. See that burr right there? Same as over here. I'm going to file those out as well. For that, I'm just going to come in here like this and just hit them. Alright, here's the base gasket. What I'm going to do is I am going to, let me get a napkin. I'm going to put RTV on one side of this, the side that goes against the cases. And the reason for it is there is a split line there, and I can feel that it's not 100% flat. And I don't want this leaking. So some people would just put a little RTV at the split line, but I'm going to put it just a tiny bit all the way around, just so I can be sure that this isn't going to leak. And the reason for it is I don't want to do this again. And the cylinder I'm not too worried about because it's freshly machined and it should be pretty flat. Should be, but we all know how this Chinese stuff is. Alright, we're in. Let's get this seated. There we go. Now, all right, guys, I got the gasket on, and we're gonna put the head on now. Having a little bit of problems with the camera; it keeps overheating. Be nice if I put it on there right. All right. Head bolts. Now before I snug these down and squish that gasket, I want to make sure that this plastic thing is going to fit. If it doesn't, I'm going to go with the other head. Alright, the head bolt torque spec is 12 foot-pounds. Alright, we're talking. You guys can see down inside of there, I am going to lube the ever-living crap out of that. And I'm going to use Q-tip. And there's also oil holes down in here that force oil down into the engine's main bearings. Actually, I might just dump this in there. Actually, I want a little bit more than that. Let me turn this a tiny bit. There we go. That's it. That's what we want right there. And I want some oil down in there. So let's pour some down in there. Okay, that should do it as far as lube goes. She might smoke a bit when we start it. That's okay. Rather have more oil than not enough. Here's the plug. I'm just going to put it in finger tight, and that's only because I don't want anything to fall inside the engine. Alright, good. And I think I'm going to pop the reeds on here for the same reason. They're not as tall, and the base is thicker, so I am going to not use them. Basically, I'm going to stick with my original reason for buying them, and it was strictly to get that gasket. So I'm going to put them in here, and we'll hang on to them in case we have an issue with these reeds. I have them to replace. But I did not have a lot of issues with this motor when I was setting it up, so I would rather not change more than I have to at this point. And what is going on with this gasket? Is this not the right gasket? Oh, there it is. Alright. Let's lock this baby up. I think I probably should put it on here first. There we go. Alright guys, now I got to put the seal retainer in so the seal doesn't blow out from the compression. And that goes in there like that. And I got to put the screw in, and I'm going to put some Loctite on it. So I'm going to install that now. Alright, the seal retainer's in. Now I got to put a snap ring in this first groove, and then I got to put the oil pump gear back on. I'm not going to install the oil pump. I'm just going to put the gear on because I think the gear takes up space. Maybe not, because there's a couple of snap rings there. But I'm going to put it in anyway, and then put the other snap ring on. I'll come back when I'm done. Alright, before I go any further, I wanted to show you guys where I'm at. I got the oil pump in there. I took the gear off, took the pin out, and that's the C-clip that holds the gear on. I removed all that because we're not using it anyways, and there's no sense in even having it connected. It can't cause any problems in the future, so it's done. I cleaned up the back of this. The gasket's still good, so I'm going to pop the stator back on, put the wires through, push the grommet back into the engine case, which goes right here, and I'm going to Loctite the screws so they don't pop out and all that happy stuff, and come back when I'm done. Alright guys, the motor's bench assembled as far as we can go with it, so it's time to drop it back in the frame. Alright guys, the engine's back in the bike. It's literally 3 bolts, one there, one on the other side, and a big through bolt through the top there. Put the starter back in. It's all bolted down. I didn't bore you with it. You guys can watch the first video of when I took it out to see how that was done. Super light. I mean, goes in and out quick. These things are really easy to work on. And like I said, the starter's in, so we'll show you what the starter sounds like. So should be good on that, hopefully. That should crank the bike over. The battery is charging still. Let me make sure it's still plugged in. Alright. And we should be good to go. I'm going to continue to assemble. I'm going to do the other side. I'll show you real quick. I'm going to do it off camera. This video is getting really long, and I wanted to do it all in one video. So I am going to put all this stuff back on over here. Boring, it's just covers. And I am not going to install this sprocket because this is an automatic, and when I'm breaking the engine in, I don't want it to try to drive off the lift, so that's not getting hooked up. Alright, let me get to it. As you guys can see, I got the belt on now. I got the clutch all assembled. I'm just going to zip this thing down. It's left-handed, so I want to put this on the 1 setting. That should be good. I don't see any issues with that. Should be good to go. Alright, let's see See what this does when I crank it over. All right. Very nice. Very, very nice. All right, guys, the airbox is in. The exhaust is on. The exhaust was real chore, let me tell you. The head, the two screw holes in the head, or the bolt holes in the head, hold on the expansion chamber. The threads were janked up, so I had to chase them with a tap and then get them in. That was a real pain. Anyways, they're in. The sides all on, everything's in. Carburetor's hooked up. I think we're ready to try to start this thing. What do you say? Let's give it a go and give it its first heat cycle? Sounds good to me. We gotta turn the idle up just a tad. Alright, let's try that. Alright guys, it's all set. Came out pretty good. I just took it for a couple of rides, finished breaking it in. It's in really good shape. And my grandson's really gonna love this. What do you think, Noah? Pretty cool? Alright, let me put you in the stand, start it up, and take it for a quick walk. It's all set. As you see, the thing, it rips. Doesn't rip like it should with a 200-pound person on it, but you put a 90-pound kid on this thing, it's gonna rip. And he's gonna get years and years and years of use out of this. And when I have more grandkids, they'll use it too. So it's not going anywhere. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Not the greatest of four-wheelers, but hey, maybe it'll help somebody. I noticed when I looked online, there wasn't a lot of videos for these two-stroke DS90s. So hopefully this video will help people out. I want to thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. I got some more stuff coming. I got a KFX 400 that's in the queue. It's on the lift right now, and we are getting ready to start on it. So if that's something that interests you, hit the notification bell, and you'll get notified when I post it.